nightmare.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Subculture special.
The Bat Pod.
This time, yes.
Yes. The first of our Bat specials,
Mm-hmm.
shall we say. Don't really have a name for it, Gary.
No.
Just a Bat special. Today we're going to be looking at Tim Burton's two Batman films, the Batman 89 and Batman Returns.
Yes.
So, Gary, I thought it would be a good idea for us to maybe tell the folks at home, anyone listening, how we maybe get into Batman.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
because we've both been kind of quite into Batman for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go? Since mine's just kind of directly linked to yours.
I mean, the first Batman 89, I was 6 at the time. I think it was around that time.
Really?
With the whole, because obviously that was the first film
Massive.
to go massive with merchandising and stuff. And I remember getting the figures. Bob the Goon.
I remember Bob the Goon. I was just thinking exactly that.
Yeah.
And the Joker, they were pretty shitty toys. Like, I thought, like, looking back now, but
was it a karate chop he had, Bob?
Yeah.
Or a kick or something like that.
Which is crazy because it didn't do any of that in the movie. I had the Joker one. The kind of the flower, and it's like a wee kind of squeezy pump that come through his back, and he squeezed out water. I had a gold Batman.
Okay.
Right, that had like a kind of detachable key. I had the proper Batman. Like
the utility belt?
Yeah, the utility belt kind of fired out and stuff. And the gold one may have actually been for Batman Returns now that I think about it.
Okay.
But it had this kind of weird pack on it. Like a jet. It was almost like a jet pack, but it had wings that came out from it.
Alright, aye.
It was kind of shitty. But the one for the stuff with the 89 stuff, it was pretty cool at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
So I don't know what age I would have been when I first saw the movie, because it was probably when it came to TV or VHS.
mm-hmm. Sure, I definitely saw it in VHS.
Aye.
I think it must have been
7 or 8 maybe or something.
Yeah, like 91, 92 maybe a wee bit there.
I'd definitely seen it before Returns came out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the start of it, and then the animated series when that kicked off.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in my opinion, one of the probably, maybe a bit like the best representation of Batman,
possibly
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always favoured Batman over other superheroes. It just kind of made more sense to me. Like, it was more. Batman makes more sense in a psychological way.
Mm-hmm.
It's more real.
Yep.
And there's more. It's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's mortal. I mean, Superman, he's going out and helping folk, but it's not quite the same.
What else would he do?
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean? Is he just, like, we think, oh yeah, he's a hero because he goes out and helps people, but he'd be a dick if he didn't do it. Right. You know what I mean? If he was just sitting there with the powers and didn't do nothing, you'd be like, you fucking cunt. You know what I mean? You'd be like, oh.
Aye.
So I know what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, the guys went away and he's like took his body and mind to the peak. And kind of goes out there and puts his life on the line.
Aye. That's quite appealing as a kid, because you always think, I could do that if I really wanted to. If I had the money,
if I didn't, rich uncle would want to give me some cash.
Aye.
Could be the Alfred. No, definitely, it's definitely kind of almost achievable. Mm-hmm. You think like there's been many things of like. People. I've heard people in like sports and things like that are pushing themselves to the max. Mm-hmm. What would Batman do? That gets them through. Cool. So that's what with me. Well, now that you mention it, I do remember having those toys from the 89 Batman, but I never really got me big into it. I mean, I know you like after that had got. Even though you weren't into buying the weekly or monthly issues of the comics, you did buy some graphic novels and things like that. But I have this vivid memory. Like I remember the 60s show and things like that, and I kind of knew the mythos. I knew Batman was Bruce Wayne, I knew about Alfred, I knew that Dick Grayson was Robin. But the thing that kind of got me back into the comic side and graphic novels thing was I remember having a discussion with you at school, and I can't remember how we got into Batman, but we were talking about Batman, and I was saying about Dick Grayson being Robin.
Okay.
And you were like, but he's no Robin now.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? And you said, like, yeah, there's been like 3 Robins. Right. We're on to the 3rd one now. We're now on Tim Drake. And I'm like, what? Like, what about the 2nd one? And you told me about Jason Todd. And then I think you told me about the whole, like, them killing them off and stuff like that. And this fucking blew my mind. I was like, Like, and so where's Dick Grayson? Oh, he's Nightwing now. And it's like, I don't know, like, for some reason, this like world that was very shallow at one point to me became this like kind of there's actual progression.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't remember thinking this, but that must have been what it was.
Okay.
And I remember getting a loan of the book, the Robin book, the Hero Reborn,
Okay.
the graphic novel where Tim Drake becomes Robin proper. And I read that, and that was it. That was kind of me hooked.
Yeah.
I remember getting Death in the Family,
Right.
and eventually, like, I bought Nightfall. Maybe tell me about that. You
Right,
the actual novelization of that. I think I listened to the tapes,
Right,
the Nightfall tapes,
yeah.
the audio story, the audiobook, and I listened to that, and then I bought the graphic novels, and then I started just that really got me properly into it. And I've teetered over the years, as I'm sure you have yourself, but I always went to see the films and stuff like that. I was pretty disappointed with some of them. And then when Batman Begins came out, that was it again. It was like, for me, that was our Batman was back. The real Batman was back. And I kind of stayed with the animated series and things like that. And I went through like the Justice League and things, and even the Superman animated series. It was all the same team of people that made them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as you say, he is the kind of everyman character almost, but like, he's the peak of what, if you think, right, the peak I could achieve, it's being Batman, isn't it?
Aye.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing better. Like, because he's rich, sure, but he just like always does the right thing, and even if it's like pisses everybody else off, you know what I mean? He's still, he's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like a genius as well.
Yeah.
He's got wee boys running after him and that. It's good fun.
Yeah, like I think when I was about 16 or something, I became sort of embarrassed by it.
Yeah,
that point.
I think every guy
became really
who
uncool.
likes comic book movies or film or comic books, it definitely becomes an embarrassment at some point, doesn't it?
I think my interest kind of shifted a little bit, and then I mean the whole disaster of the third and fourth movies just put Batman in the toilet.
You couldn't like, it wasn't even like semi cool to say you like Batman. You couldn't even like joke about it.
Aye.
It was like, but then again, thinking back, like everyone else, I remember going to see Batman and Robin with it was Batman and Robin with a friend who was a girl. It wasn't a girlfriend. But like, my point is the mainstream necessarily didn't think that Batman and Robin and Batman Forever were that bad.
Okay.
They thought that, that is just what Batman is.
Aye.
You know what I mean? It's like probably going off the Adam West 60 series. I guess that was maybe always the perception. You know what I mean? Unless you were really into like Burton's Batman films, but it definitely became really uncool.
Yeah.
But now, I know, even before like the kind of resurgence things, I'm quite proud to say, like, I still read comics.
Yeah.
Specifically, I mean, I got quite back into it again just before the Watchmen movie came out. I read Watchmen for the first time.
Right.
You read that? No, it's pretty decent, man.
it?
It's really good, and that kind of got me back into reading it again. So, not reading, like reading comic books. So that's really kind of how I got into Batman proper. Yeah.
Right.
So, we'll move on to the movies we're going to talk about today. Do you want to give us a little plot rundown for Batman?
Batman, it's sort of an origin story of sorts.
Yep.
It doesn't go through it in the same way like Batman Begins, hits every beat. But this character, Batman, turns up beating down some criminals.
Definitely.
And sort of police and that are saying, who is this guy? And you get some gangsters. Accidentally turns one character into the Joker.
Oh, spoilers. Yeah. Stars Michael.
Help me out, yeah. Help me out.
Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, as well as Kim Basinger. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Aye.
And then the Joker starts to run riot around the city.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman says, "Hold on a minute." Get your soul piece, you Bob. Aye. And then that's kind of the plot, I guess.
Yeah.
So we watched these films Batman and Batman Returns pretty recently.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking with Batman at the moment. What was your thoughts rewatching it again?
Batman, that's definitely my favourite. It has its flaws, but I think that stands up there as the ultimate Batman film. I mean, Nolan's films, we'll go on to them, but they attempted to do something. I admire them to a point, but I don't think they fully come off. This is like, the strengths of this one, like Keaton and Nicholson, are pretty much phenomenal. The acting chops, I think, in this are better, even though, I mean, you've got great actors in the later one, but it seems more about just a pure stage in a sense. Like, the key scene for me is that scene in Vicky Vale's
Yeah,
apartment,
with Bruce Wayne
where
and the
they're
Joker.
just going toe to toe. That's it's pretty phenomenal.
I mean, even as a kid, I remember that scene when Michael Keaton just loses it.
Yeah.
Like, always stuck out with me.
Aye.
It's quite.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's the ultimate Batman for me. Just because his eyes, man, is real. Look at that guy's eyes. You know he's Batman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
He's
I get
fucked
you.
up. This guy is no right.
No, man, I'm with you. Definitely, I definitely love the film. Personally, I know we disagree on this, but I'm a bigger fan of the Nolan films, just for their realism and their kind of grittiness and things like that. But you can't argue with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton really at all. Some of it looks a little dated to me, but it still all more or less holds up. There's some flaws to it, like story wise, like, some plot holes and kind of a huge big gun, handgun that takes out the Batwing. But definitely, even from that opening scene, as I said to you when we were watching it, it's the misdirection of the couple with the son. And you kind of think, is this going to be the origin story for Batman? And then all of a sudden, Batman turns up and takes out the two criminals. It's quite, it's quite clever. It's quite a good misdirection. I think there's some of the stuff in like the special features we were watching, and we're talking about the origin of the Joker compared to the Alan Moore origin in Killing Joke, saying that this is far more plausible.
Right.
And it definitely is. It definitely works better, him being this kind of gangster who's kind of psychotic a little bit, obviously not averse to killing people, who gets like his whatever thread of sanity he has left shattered after he's dropped into the toxic waste. Going totally mental, so I think that definitely works. That's probably the best version of the Joker origin I've seen. In like comics or film, I think.
Yeah. I mean, because Dark Knight, no one decides to go with not even touching on it, making it kind of more mysterious.
Again, I like as I say, that's the best version we've seen. Personally, I prefer the way the Joker works in Dark Knight.
Okay.
To Batman, a wee bit because of the way he changes his origin every time he tells it. And I like that because that's something the Joker would do to me in the comics. That's definitely something, there's no way he would either, he doesn't remember kind of thing, or like he just would totally fucking piss you about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I quite like the way they worked that into the kind of, do you want to know how I got these scars? I mean, it doesn't necessarily work with the, two completely different versions of the Joker, but I think it works quite scary wise. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of appearance, Ledger's far more sinister and
definitely
fucked up.
I still think he manages to be funny though. There's a lot of moments in that film that like when he's coming out of the hospital, I know we're not talking about that yet, but like when he's coming out of the hospital dressed as a nurse, that's just joke. That's like literally Joker, but I mean, Jack Nicholson looks exactly like the Joker. You know what I mean? He, like if you were to draw the Joker, all you have to do is draw a picture of that Jack Nicholson Joker, and everyone would know exactly who you're talking about.
No one does insane quite like Jack Nicholson. Like.
I mean that's it. He just totally goes with it. You just know that like you if you met him, there would be there's no reasoning with him. There's no that's what I mean. There's no kind of hold on, wait a minute. What did you think of like the Vicky Vale character? I didn't really know that much from the comics and stuff like that. Because she was more the kind of, she was the early squeeze, was she not? Like,
okay, I can't really remember.
I think it's 50s and 60s, I think.
Right.
I'm probably wrong, but I know she wasn't necessarily the modern Batman's kind of love interest because he didn't really have one. A constant one.
I think it works pretty well. I mean, Basinger's great, and she wasn't even the first choice.
It was Sean Young. It was going to be.
One thing I thought when we were watching it there, the whole love story proceeds pretty rapidly.
Yeah,
for the sake of story.
We were talking about that. They spend one night together, and all of a sudden it's like. And the thing that thinged me was like, he the next day, or apparently the next day, it could be meant to have been weeks afterwards. We don't know. You know, maybe they spent many a night together. But the next day, as it's portrayed, she's like, okay, let's hang out.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, I can't. I'm going to town. And I mean, it's a totally like kind of like a one night stand almost line, isn't it? And I mean, he's like a millionaire playboy supposedly. But she just doesn't take the hint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then she stalks him. But yeah, it definitely felt a wee bit maybe forced. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've never watched it and felt that way. But if you analyse it like that,
Yeah.
it could appear like kind of rushed along a bit.
Yeah.
But it's nice. I like the scene in the kitchen after they go from the big dining room, stuff like that, and Alfred's there. As I say, I've got my own opinions about Alfred.
Oh yes,
I think he's the main adversary in all the Batman films. Because I mean, as I said to you at the time, what's he doing sitting there? Guy's on a date. You know what? And his dad figure hanging about, telling embarrassing stories. You just met this lassie.
Yep.
But I like that scene in the kitchen. It's quite you definitely get a picture of the character of Bruce Wayne and kind of the romance. It works. To me, that works better and more comfortably than the romance in Batman Returns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though the romance in Batman Returns is far more sexualised, I feel, because of the kind of, you know, Batman Catwoman suits.
Yeah.
Thing. But
one of the sort of criticism you might have of this film is just a bit, the story's no fully developed. It feels like they didn't quite have a solid thing beat out.
And that was one of the things they were saying in the extra features was that they didn't really have much finished.
It's just a kind of series of kind of set pieces into it to an extent. I mean, you do have it does sort of explore the arc of how Batman and Joker are dependent on each other. They both created each other.
And it had a nice wee layer to that with the Joker killing the Waynes. But I mean, again, it's not something I've ever sat and thought about when I'm watching it, so I guess it works that way.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like, what's the Joker try to do with the scheme that he's got?
Yeah.
Usually he's got a kind of, I mean, he doesn't really have much of a kind of purpose to it, does he? Just to kill everyone and cause chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird, like, his first act as the Joker, or his first act we see, he goes and takes revenge on Grissom for setting him up.
Yeah.
And then he seems to be like kind of curtailing the rest of the gangster bosses, as if and saying that he's going to be the new boss.
Yeah.
Then that kind of fizzles out. We don't really see that again. You know what I mean? He takes out that guy with the fountain pen. Because he says that he's been left everything by Grissom. So that kind of story fizzles out.
I think it's he just wants to get rid of Batman because he's being the guy that's getting all the press.
Yeah, because he's doing some stuff and then Batman is still getting all the press. Guess that is it. But
I think because of the acting and the performances are so strong that it's not really a problem for me. That's sort of a lot of action movies. It's just about spectacle, and I find them quite boring a lot of the time, like your big blockbusters, because there's nothing really to grab you. But I think it doesn't really not too much of a problem in the film.
As I say, it still holds up. And you say that's probably because of the performances. I mean, there's a pretty big fan backlash, if you will. I'm sure the internet, had it been existed properly back then, would have been a fire when the cast Michael Keaton. But I don't think, looking back, I don't think those films would have worked without him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when we go to the Schumacher films, it's like, I know the stories are mental, but I think that was one of the things that was missing from was a strong portrayal of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, because you can't just get a leading actor. It needs to be a guy who has the darkness as well.
Yeah.
Keaton definitely has. Bale can do that as well to an extent.
The good thing, like the way the Keaton Bruce Wayne has the good light side as well. Like for when he is Bruce Wayne, when he's not Batman, he can still manage to have a bit of a, because of the comedy that Keaton came from. He can still have a bit of a kind of slapsticky thing. You know what I mean? And I pointed to you, it's almost as if that's him kind of relaxed. It's maybe a facade, but like when he's Batman, it's like as if he's like completely focused. Whereas when he's Bruce Wayne, he's a little almost scatterbrain.
Yeah.
Like, especially in like the first one, when he's at the party and stuff like that, and it just seems a bit kind of all over the place.
Aye.
Like when Alfred comes to him and says that Commissioner Gordon's left the party, and he's all right, cheers,
Yeah.
bye. I'm chatting up this bud. But then when he's Batman, he's like totally focused. And I quite like that. That shows a nice bit of duality there.
Mm-hmm.
Again with Bale's Batman, Bruce Wayne, there's that bit in Begins, and even in Dark Knight when he's kind of lighter. I don't think that works quite as well. That feels like that's put on, whereas Keaton's one, it feels it's a natural like extension of himself. Whereas Bale maybe is more comic book accurate, where it's like kind of, you do feel that he's Batman all the time. Yeah, and the Bruce Wayne is the mask. So it does feel more comfortable to have him putting on the Bruce Wayne act. Right. If you're not more comfortable, it does feel like that feels right. Yeah. Because you know that he's always Batman. Okay. But I like the it was a nice, looking back, thinking how dark, and they thought the Tim Burton films were. It is kind of, it's a nice little nod to the Adam West series a little bit, having him that little kind of slapsticky. And it's kind of easing it in and saying that still kind of works. Again, I really enjoyed his portrayal, and as I say, Jack Nicholson is Jack Nicholson. You know what I mean? As they were talking about doing the makeup on him, like they didn't want to lose when they're doing the kind of grin. Right, aye. And I think that it's still just, even though it looks like the Joker, I think Jack Nicholson looks like the Joker. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of entwined. So what did you think of the finale?
Yeah, I think it's pretty spectacular. I mean, I think Nicholson said that did he come up with the idea?
Yeah, I think him and it wasn't him and Tim Burton, but it was him and one of the script writers. Or the producers, sorry. One of the producers had been to the Phantom of the Opera. Aye. And the finale there was in the cathedral. And they said that's kind of what they needed. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. You have to do some kind of a standoff. That's the sort of climax of the film. It doesn't really. It's not really essential to the story in the sense that a cathedral. It doesn't really make sense. It's just a visual thing. But I always remember loving that scene, watching it when I was younger. Just the whole gothic setting is kind of perfect.
Definitely. I mean, coming from the kind of like almost kind of traditional action film scene preceding it with the Batwing, taking it with all the people being gassed and things like that, and then it comes to this totally kind of like quiet, dark, interior. It's just the three of them. Yeah, it's quite cool. Because you think like most action films go for this big spectacle. Yeah. At the end, whereas in this it's like just these three performances. Yeah. And I mean, it was really conjured up from nowhere. Yeah. But they managed to pull it off. I mean, I think that's like the bit where Vicky Vale and Joker are dancing, and she's like totally out it, like not wanting to be there. Then she sees Batman, and then she starts coming on to the Joker. Yeah. She says she loves purple. She starts licking his suit.
I mean, there's quite a few inconsistencies as to why. I mean, the Joker, he's got Vicky Vale, and he said he wants picked up. He says, "Get me the top of the cathedral."
I like it though. Like he's like kind of like transporting 5 minutes for two. Aye. And then he looks up and he's like, "Oh, I better have to make it 10."
So gonna go to the trouble of dragging her all the way up there just to get picked up in the helicopter.
Yeah. It does seem a bit kind of over the top, but it's a set piece. I get. Aye. It's a kind of. Said it in the script that we're gonna have the finale up there. You know what I mean? I mean, again, it'll come to the forefront again in Returns when we talk about that. But this Batman's kind of, it doesn't really have the no kill rule. So so much as the comics and later Nolan films definitely have. And I posed you the question: do you think when he realizes that it was him that killed his parents, it was Jack Napier that killed his parents? Do you think that he was going up there to kill the Joker, and that was always his plan? Because he's chucking like goons left and right down. Yeah. Oh, sorry, which I said like when the Joker kills Bob the Goon.
Oh yeah.
That was quite a good scene, wasn't it? Anyway, sorry.
It's weird. Like I think he's got a no-kill policy to an extent, and so he's not going to go.
Unless he really wants to.
Yeah, he's not going to directly kill somebody.
Yes.
He's going to put people in serious mortal danger, blow them up and shit if they're in a bad spot. But yeah, so I don't think he would have killed the Joker, to be honest. But
I mean, it is really the Joker's own fault what he does, what happens. I mean, why does the helicopter comes and it comes off the side of the cathedral? If it come out at like 5 feet, he would have been fine. He could have fell down there. You know.
Yeah. One of the other things is they go all the way up to the top, and then suddenly he's got a bunch of henchmen.
Where did they come from? That's right. Like they were just waiting up there. Maybe that was always his plan to get picked up at the cathedral.
Maybe. They were just hanging out there beforehand.
Just get me up there.
When do we start the day? No, for another
when do we start the day?
I need to wait for the boss coming up.
Yeah, what you got in your piece? Oh, yeah, that's what was happening.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, the tower as well is a slight nod to Vertigo.
Yes.
There's a Vertigo shot.
Yeah.
And then this whole idea of the dual identity in Vertigo. Relevant to the Joker and Batman, of course.
Definitely. See, like, just thinking just now about it, obviously like, Jack Napier was like a gangster kind of guy and kind of, you know, a bit of a hard nut, shall we say, with a gun, I guess. But when Batman comes and starts punching him, doesn't really put on much of a fight. I know the Joker's traditionally not much of a fighter, but you know, does that seem odd that this guy who's maybe a mafia gangster boss can't even fight? I mean, he actually puts on glasses at one point.
Yeah.
Says you wouldn't hurt a guy with glasses.
It didn't occur to me actually. That's
It just occurred to me right now. Like, I just was thinking
because that's how all Simply Joker should be, but the way they set up Napier, he's quite a tough guy.
I mean, first thing, like, as soon as he sees him, he says, "You ever dance with the devil, didn't pay him in light," like, and then punches him into that bell.
Aye.
And as I said to you, he comes back and he totally thumps him in the top of the head. So maybe the guy's just like, oof. And then he pulls the false teeth gag as well.
Aye.
So maybe he's just totally lost it.
But I mean, as a character as well, he is getting on a bit.
Oh, aye.
And years, so maybe that's a factor as well. And then he's going up against Batman.
Yeah. He survived some toxic waste, you know what I mean? You think maybe.
Well,
No, it was just something I thought of there. And of course, the film draws to an end with something that creeped me out as a kid was the Joker lying on the ground after he's fallen with the laughing bag. I thought that was pretty creepy. But effective. But I thought I always remember going like, "What?
Right.
What? He stuck? What? What's going on?"
Yeah.
And then we get the first in this movie series shot of the bat signal at the end with Harvey Dent and Commissioner Gordon shooting that up into the sky, and then Batman's just stood up at the top of the tower. That. What do you think? How long did he stand? You know, how many times a night did he do that? Because really the bat signal was more to call him.
Yeah.
You know, but he's just waiting there anyway. You know? All in all, as I say, definitely it's still a really good Batman film.
Yeah.
And with what was to come in the interim after Burton left and before Nolan came, definitely the best of that era.
Yeah. One other thing I just want to pull out, like, for me, one of the key lines in this film is when Joker says, "Where does he get those wonderful toys?" To me, that sums up this version of Batman compared to Nolan's.
Sure.
So that's why I prefer this, is you have that mystery to it.
Okay, so
he has all these amazing, crazy Batmobile that's not really that functional. And all utility belt and grappling gun and shit like that. And the problem I have with Nolan's version of breaking it all down to complete realism and showing you, right, this is actually where this thing might come from. To me, that's interesting to a point, but it leaves you in a place of complete kind of banality. Because once you know where they come from, it's like, alright, that's where they come from then. To me, it's always more cool to, where the fuck could he get that? That's crazy. I
totally get what you're saying. For me, it's always a kind of like, alright, that's what that is. That's obviously like a kind of, you know, like the grappling guns, like a kind of compressed,
Right.
like
Aye.
right. But like it's more like how he uses them. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, like I get what you're saying with the Burton films. He's got all this stuff, and we don't really know how it works or why it works. It just works.
Aye.
I kind of get what you're saying, and I guess that kind of works with the comics as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never thought that hurt the Nolan films.
Right.
I get your point. But it's never taken me out of it and made me think, oh, see that cowl he's wearing. They ordered that for five different places. So he could make it up. But shite, really, isn't it? Could have made something better than that.
Yeah, that's one of the major problems having Nolan films, because that was always the.
I just thought it was a cool explanation.
Yeah.
I mean, it was called Batman Begins.
The thing you always feel as a kid is, I wonder where he gets these things, but it's better not to know. I think that sort of the mystery behind it makes it more compelling. I feel.
I guess it kind of the stuff he gets for Lucius Fox in Begins. That kind of still is, because I'm not like saying, oh, we picked up at fucking eBay.
Right.
It's made in Japan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get them at Toys R Us. It's like the company's actually made them. You know, what do we call them? The Wayne Foundation, not Wayne Foundation, Wayne Industries.
Right.
They've made the stuff, so it's kind of like they still don't necessarily exist. So you still couldn't say, oh, I could make that now. You know what I mean?
That's true, right?
And even like the memory cloth and stuff like that, you know, that I think they've actually started making that now.
Right.
You know, putting electric current through and things like that. But I don't know. It never took me out of it. As I say, I still just think it's cool.
Yeah.
But I do get your point with the kind of having the stuff and you don't know how it works. And I mean, like, where does that come from? At the back of his belt?
Yeah,
He's got endless room at the back of his belt.
Yeah, this version sort of goes for the style over the pure functionality, which I think I prefer. Just like the design of the Batmobile is more about the style of it.
We have to mention the Batmobile.
Right. This
is still I think it was said like favourite Batmobile.
I think so, yeah.
Of any live action anyway, like probably ever. I think it's been better. I quite like the Tumbler, but it's not a Batmobile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And don't get me started in the Batpod.
Right.
But no, this is like, I mean, it looks like you want one. For me, there's like 3 cars that I want in the world. I want a Knight Rider car. I want Kit.
Right.
Yeah. I would quite like a DeLorean just because that's pretty cool. But I want a Batmobile, an 89 Batmobile. That's it. So.
Yeah, I was telling you one of the scenes I love is when the Batmobile drives, they're escaping from the museum.
Yes.
And go through all the dark forest and stuff.
Yeah.
You get Danny Elfman's music there, going strong.
It's epic.
And then drives into a cave.
Oh,
Brilliant.
Kim Basinger gets at the big screen.
Yeah. And I was saying how I had my Batmobile and I got a shoebox, cut a flap, and made that, tried to recreate that classic scene in my bedroom.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Try to fit your head inside. Try to fit your head inside the shoebox to get the same POV. Yeah, I get you.
So I would say ultimate version of Batman so far for me.
Yeah, definitely like. Definitely an ultimate version of Batman.
Right.
For me, as I say, I enjoy the Nolan films. I know you're not kind of into them, or as into them, sorry, but definitely this holds up, and it's of the kind of last era of Batman films. It's definitely the best.
Yeah.
So we move on to the sequel.
Yep.
So this was 92. Yeah.
Yeah, Burton came back to do a sequel.
Yeah, 3 years later.
I think it was pretty. Was it the biggest grossing film at the time, Batman? Was it?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, broke some records, I think.
Yeah, it definitely did well.
Yeah. So, came back for a sequel. Do you want to?
They were quite keen to get Burton back, weren't they?
I'm not sure. I
think they were pretty keen for him and Keaton to come back. I know the producers were. I just say that because I think after, like, cause I don't think Batman Returns was quite as big a success as Batman had been. And there was a discussion I think that Burton had, and he got this distinct impression that they didn't want him to come back.
Okay, right.
He was throwing a lot of ideas out there, and they were like, "Do you want to make a smaller film?" Kind of thing.
Right,
I think it cost quite a lot, and it didn't quite make the same. So Gary, do you want to give us a rundown on the plot?
The plot.
This Bat sequel.
In this film, we've moved on a number of years, and you have a new villain on the rise, the Penguin. You have origin stories of the Penguin, and it's also the character of Catwoman. Penguin and Catwoman concoct a plan to take down Batman, and doesn't really
They
work.
don't manage to do
No.
it. I mean, really, this was kind of marketed as the Bat, the Cat, and the Penguin, wasn't it?
Yes,
This was the kind of big selling point. I mean, for me, I don't know. The Penguin seems to have a bit of a plot at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's gonna, I mean, he kidnaps Max Schreck.
Aye.
Just for walking.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to get away to get to the surface, but and it seems like it's just to get this revenge on the firstborn of the elite. As like he was kind of the firstborn of the Cobblepots and dumped into the sewer. But through that, like obviously Max Schreck's got his own plan for this big power plant he's gonna do, and he eventually somehow the Penguin ends up running for mayor. I still kind of find that watching that's a bit of a kind of what you know, and when they kind of fall out at the end and like Penguin goes back to his original plan, you're kind of like, this was it? What? I mean, you find out throughout the film that the Penguin he didn't. I mean, when I first watched it, like it's as if he's lived down there since the day he was found with the penguins. But he's been away in a circus and everything. That's where all the kind of circus performers come from. And gave me kind of flavours of Freaks a wee bit when we were watching this, you know.
Yeah, this film, it feels more Burton-esque.
Definitely. I mean, I said that to you when we watched it. It feels, to me, it feels like a complete. I know it's shot in a different place and things like that, but it feels like a completely different world.
Aye.
For me, it doesn't feel like the same Gotham City.
Aye. And
I've always thought that, and I know it's winter, it's snow covered and things like that, and it's a different design and things like that. But the Gotham of the first film, I think as it was supposed to be, felt like a kind of 40s.
Yeah.
Kind of almost like a modern 40s like a city, like a kind of weird New York amalgam. Whereas this feels like a far more gothic place than, and as you say, more Burton-esque.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the things they got him on board with, was like, don't think about how's about not making another Batman film, make a Tim Burton film that happens to have Batman in it.
Yeah.
And that kind of got him on. But
yeah, he managed to put more his kind of stamp on this one, I think.
It even goes to Danny Elfman's score. Like it's the same score effectively, but it's very it's a lot more choir, like kind of creepy music in it and things like that.
Well, one problem I have with the film is I always think it's a bad idea to do two villains, just because you can't explore one. They're always battling for screen time, so you can't really get to grips with one and really investigate them as how they should be done. And then the problem in this film is they team up. There's no really a solid idea as to why they would get together. It doesn't really make sense. It's like just because we both want to get rid of Batman, don't we? Yeah.
I mean, you can't understand it from the Penguin's point of view because he kind of wants to shag her a wee bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, many a man has met his downfall. Many a man has met his downfall from that wanting to do that. You know what I mean? But yeah, it seems a bit like she goes from being like just a kind of the downbeaten secretary character who gets pushed over the edge literally. And at first it's like she's avenging women a wee bit, or like, you know, trying to like say don't be a victim. And then all of a sudden, and she's taking some revenge against Shrek a wee bit. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she's wanting to hurt Batman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, but she goes after him first when he's not done anything. Yeah. And then like she takes it as a person when he beats her or like throws her off the building. She falls into the kettle.
Aye. See, is that a hint of a good idea in that Catwoman has a vendetta against Batman from a feminist angle, as trying to sort of Batman representing the patriarchy in the sense that it's always men who will be your saviour. Yeah, and I mean that definitely feels like what she's going for to start with. Aye. But I don't know. If it was just Catwoman in the film, I think they could have really developed that, and that would have been pretty interesting. But it does it does come off as, yeah, that's a good idea, but the way it's represented in the film, I don't really believe it.
Definitely gets our plan or whatever our focus is seems to totally wane. You know what I mean? It doesn't stay, as you say, as that. I mean, I think they was talking about the story that they had originally envisioned Catwoman was the beating the villain.
Right.
The studio was very much wanting the Penguin because they felt it was the kind of like second best, well known after the Joker, and after like Burton kind of came up with his own idea and design for like, what the Penguin would be, which is completely different from anything that had been before.
Right.
I think that's why he was included. So I think maybe you're right. Maybe that the original idea was possibly quite interesting. You know, with her kind of vendetta against Batman for being, because her character after she gets like pushed out the window and kind of comes back to life, as it were. She does feel very like there's some messages in her like phone about talking about getting men to like you and stuff like that. She's fucking mental about them. She was raging. And then the guy that's attacking the woman, like I mean, he takes him out, but then she lambastes the girl.
Yeah.
Because she never took him out herself. So you could be right there. That could have been the kind of one of the initial ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I think Barton has said this himself. Like, he was under crazy pressure, like from the studio, in the sense that they were all interested in merchandising. To an extent, they were desperate to know what he was going to do, so they could set up all the designs for the toys and shit. Which
never good.
No.
I mean, it isn't, and it's crazy like now because again, come back to the Nolan films. Like that guy, those have been the most successful. Some of the most successful films ever. Yeah. Almost. You know, I mean, never mind, like, you know, superhero films. But yet he doesn't seem to have that pressure put upon him. You know what I mean? He seems to still be given freedom.
Yeah.
To do what he's kind of wanting, and there's no kind of, we need to get the toys out. And they do still bring toys, don't get me wrong, but there's no, it doesn't feel like that's, he's been, can you put this character in so we can get a toy of them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas, it's weird because like Burton had the same thing. Like he had the most successful superhero film probably ever at the time with Batman, which he had loads of freedom on. As far like him and like, there was really only like, him and the writers and Nicholson, and you know they all kind of came up with their ideas, and there wasn't much imposed on them. And whereas when that became so successful, it seemed to get clamped down on, which is weird. Yeah.
I mean, I think
it's weird. It's not weird what happened to Burton. It's weird that no one's getting the freedom. So I mean, because I think that happens a lot with the studio system. Yeah. You know, like someone's successful and they're like, all right, well, we need to monopolise this as much as we can.
Yeah, because I think with Batman, the studio didn't realise it was such a massive property. Because I don't think there was a. Surely that must be the biggest superhero movie up to that point.
Yeah, I mean, Superman was pretty big.
Right. Okay.
I think Batman blew it out the water. Like. Yeah. I don't know the figures, but I'm sure it was like a much bigger release. I mean, it was 10 years trying to get it made, I think, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Nolan can do his own thing as well to a point, but Dark Knight, I mean, he did have to. Well, he did either choose or was encouraged to do two villains again.
I guess so, and I mean,
Nolan makes an attempt to mesh them together in a better way.
I never really felt like those two were working together in that film. It felt very much that, to me, that the Harvey Dent character was like the Two-Face character was more of a consequence of what the Joker had done. Yeah. And he was stuck at the end, like he wasn't really in it to the last quarter. Of the film.
That was it. It felt like the film was going to end, and then it's another like it was a half an hour at the end. More goes into the Two-Face, but
I thought that was kind of. It worked okay because it was his own quest. Like it was kind of the whole him being turned and the Joker managing to turn him like evil or bad. So I think if that had been really studio interference, I think there would have been more of a kind of we need them in the whole film.
Right, maybe.
You know what I mean, or you have to have them teaming up. Like you know.
Aye.
So like I mean, again we'll get to Tommy Lee's portrayal of Two-Face, but anyway, as I say, I think that's quite normal for them for the studio to be quite integral in fucking things up. Yeah, you know, and putting too much shit into films. I mean, you get like, I think, like Spider-Man 3 example, X-Men 3, the shittest film ever. I mean, they always seem to do it You know, they just shoot too high. Like,
Yeah.
we need to get as many toys out of this as we
Right.
can. I think this probably is. I mean, it's the better of the Bat sequels. I mean, definitely, it still works.
Yeah.
It suffers definitely from having too many characters. I think. I mean, and again, like much like the first Batman, the initial draft had Robin in it.
Right. Aye.
I mean, you've seen the special features, the Robin sequence, the storyboard. I thought it was pretty weak.
Yeah.
Made slightly better with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill voicing the characters. But it seemed like a total like kind of tacked on.
Yeah.
You know, seeing, I'm so glad they left it out because that would, I mean, that would have really hurt the film. But if they'd have introduced Robin in Batman Returns,
Oh yeah.
I mean, because everyone gets more screen time in that film. Like, well, like there's more Alfred, you know, there's more like, there's more Bruce Wayne, there's Christopher Walken's character. Which, oh my god, hair. Can you just say hair? That guy's hair's crazy, isn't it? But if they'd introduced like a Robin origin story into that, I mean, it barely works.
Yeah.
It barely works in Forever, in Batman Forever. I mean, and it's tacked on really, I guess, but wouldn't have worked in this at all.
Yeah.
So I mean, it definitely suffers from just a few too many characters.
Yeah. I mean, it's still fairly strong. It is a step down from Batman. I think one of the main kind of problems I have any time I watch it, the dialogue. There is a lot of cringeworthy dialogue in it. Especially the Catwoman's one-liners, which is really,
again, that's like almost a
bad
throwback to the Adam West show as well, wasn't it? You know, with her like with all the kind of the puns that they would use, they would pull. I mean, that really feels like, you know, I'm going for a catnap. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. It's there's a few of them that work kind of all right.
Okay.
And it's kind of, it feels like that's the character.
Right.
But it is a wee bit.
And the sort
campy,
of
isn't it?
exchanges between Batman and Catwoman doesn't really make sense to me, because Batman really wouldn't do that. He wouldn't bother. That's the thing that I think Keaton says about. I think it was about talking about the original, that originally there was loads more dialogue for Batman to say.
And I think it was in Returns.
Was it in Returns as well? Right.
There was like a lot of kind of angry Batman speeches.
Aye, and Keaton was like, "No, this guy doesn't talk."
Like,
aye. Which makes sense.
Totally makes sense, but like, then where did the Catwoman exchange is that? That's them. They're kind of supposed kind of tacked on romance. It's like we're getting a villain and a romantic interest in one. But to me, like, again, not giving Schumacher any props at all, but in Batman and Robin, we've seen that film.
Yeah, I've seen it once.
You've seen it once, right? We're going to watch it again soon. There's the Poison Ivy character.
Right, aye.
Now, she is known in the comics, she has either like a poisonous kiss or a kind of an alluring kiss, right?
Yeah.
That kind of gets people to fall in love with her, right? So you can kind of almost understand it in those films when she's talking to Batman or Robin, and they kind of, you know, start flirting with her or are enthralled by her. But like the Batman of like '89 Batman, I don't think he would nip it up with it. What are you doing, you stupid cow? You know what I mean? Like, going to no fucking do that. Like, and then when it like, even when she says you hit me, I'm a woman. He's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, I don't know. He seems a bit stupid, which again could be argued and excused if he was under some sort of poison ivy.
Right. Aye.
Like, you know, magic potion or whatever. Where it was like, I don't know.
It is difficult. I see what Barton's trying to do. I mean, obviously, it's kind of essential to do the Selena Kyle Bruce Wayne love story whenever you.
But generally, if you're seeing Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne interact, they do have a connection.
Okay,
but to me, that works better if Catwoman and Batman are bitter enemies.
Yeah.
You think of that the bit where they discover, and I know they do become bitter enemies, but there's always a flirt going on there. But they only really have the one scene together as Batman and Catwoman, don't they? And it's the bit where she's on top of him, she stabs him with her claw. I don't think there's another scene where they're fighting.
Was it the one where after the princess gets kidnapped?
They don't really fight there, do they? That's because after the princess gets kidnapped and Catwoman takes her upstairs, and she's not there. And then you see after the princess is fallen, You see the Penguin and Catwoman talking.
Well, there's a scene where she's got a whip and is he holding a chair or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's when she's got the princess. I get what you're saying. To me, there's only one proper fight with Catwoman and Batman.
Is it not him that throws her out into the greenhouse thing?
No, that's Penguin.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
He tosses her, or she falls into the kitty litter truck after
right.
Batman fight.
Okay.
Anyway,
Right.
to me that kind of works. The realization when they're kind of smooching and they can exchange the line about the mistletoe, which is a bit naff, and they realise who they are.
Yeah.
Right? That would have, like, and she's like, oh no, do I have to start fighting now?
Yeah.
That would have been far, I think that would maybe have been more impact if they had been so bitter enemies, like, there had been no flirting.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I maybe had a more, if it hadn't been a penguin in the film, I guess if they did more physical fighting and kind of really hated each other as the Batman Catwoman character, rather than him wanting to pump her a wee bit. You know what I mean? But it still works. It's still a cool revelation. It's still a cool scene, and I would have liked to have heard how the conversation would have went if they got outside before the explosion.
Yeah, I mean, I like that scene, that revelation scene when they're at the party. That's pretty good. Yeah, but the dialogue between Batman and actually Catwoman is it's too much.
Definitely. What did you think of DeVito's Penguin?
Yeah. Got it spot on. I mean, I think it was an interesting choice to do the Penguin as like a freak.
Yes, I hadn't really thought about the fact that he's so different from the comic book character until fairly recently, because it's, he was never like that, and I didn't really know much. I mean, there's not a lot of, especially the kind of modern, like Penguin,
right? Okay,
like big Penguin stories, if you know what I mean. Yeah, or not when I was reading comics. Quite a bit anyway. There wasn't a lot involving the Penguin. He was usually a kind of side character at most.
Okay.
So an interpretation at the time when Batman Returns came out wasn't something that I knew about. So I just took Danny DeVito's Penguin as the Penguin. Yeah. That was fine for me. You know what I mean? And I didn't think I really liked it, and I thought it was creepy and things like that. But no, I think totally, he's totally created a character. It's like Nicholson's Joker. Well, Nicholson's Joker was a lot of Nicholson in there. Yeah. But it managed to just go crazy with it. Whereas Danny DeVito's, I don't think there's any Danny DeVito in the Penguin. Okay. It's a complete character he's made. You know what I mean? I mean, you kind of know it's Danny DeVito a wee bit, but like the characterization of the Penguin is totally not there, Danny DeVito anymore. You know what I mean? So I think it definitely works, and it's I mean, comparing it to Burgess Meredith in the '60s show, it's a lot more vicious. I mean, obviously the films are compared to the series is lighter, but it's a similar attitude, kind of like, and the voices, they can like that.
I think it makes more sense to do it. It gives them more a motivation, rather than just like a guy who kind of dressed like a penguin. He's got a big nose.
Those umbrellas.
Guesses. There's not much you can do with that character, really.
No, I mean, the modern comic book representation has a more of a kind of, the Penguin's like almost like a Scarface moniker, the Al Pacino Scarface. It's not something that he doesn't necessarily look like a penguin or dress. He does dress kind of but it basically is a kind of a drug runner, gun runner. You know, he's kind of more of a kind of underground mafia boss kind of character, which that works as well, I think. But I definitely, when I saw this, I never doubted that was the Penguin. That was it for me, What about Christopher Walken's Max Schreck? Don't think Walken can do bad. I think it works really well.
Yeah, I mean, chewing the scenery,
definitely,
totally hamming it up. No, good stuff.
I like the conversation with him and Michael Keaton. Are really, I thought they were quite clever. Because it really is kind of, they're both rich guys. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's quite fun. Not as good as the Joker and Bruce Wayne stuff, but I thought it was quite fun.
So I quite like the final scene in the film. How do you think?
I mean, I've always liked. I think I said to you when we were watching it. It's similar to the first one, because it is the kind of, you get just the characters. There's no big, after the kind of the Penguins go out. Yeah. With the rockets, and that's kind of averted. that's the kind of almost big action set piece.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't have much action in it, but that's the kind of big tension builder. It's again, we get to just the characters.
Yeah.
So I think that Burton must like that kind of
Yeah,
climax.
I think, because he was never really an action director.
Yeah.
I think he's more comfortable doing this, but this is far more interesting.
Definitely,
for
definitely.
Me,
And I think it works character-wise better than the finale to Batman.
Okay.
Because we're getting, basing on the kind of Batman, Catwoman, Selina Kyle, Bruce Wayne thing, him trying to save her.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
Again, in this film, Burton seems to think that Batman's always up for revealing his identity in a way. Like, I mean, it's no Bruce Wayne and Batman, but Alfred takes Vicky Vale into the Batcave.
And then behind it all, I'm telling you.
Yeah, and then Bruce Wayne
see that doctor in the
rips
first
off
one.
his mask.
Sorry, see that doctor in the first one that fixes up the Joker.
Yeah,
that's Alfred's brother.
Is it? Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like him. No,
Right, yeah.
You watch that film again, you tell me that's not Alfred's brother. I'm telling you, it's all a plan. But yeah, when he rips off his mask, I mean, cause, Selina already knows who he is.
Aye.
So the only reason to do that is, I guess, to give maybe Keaton more of an acting, more scope to act for those final scenes. It does seem a bit because they don't know that Shrek's gonna get killed, so it seems a bit kind of reckless.
Aye. But I guess I always tend to think that Batman wants to be Batman and he's happy being Batman.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's more interesting that he's always got that tension within him. Do I give it up?
I mean, that's in the scene with Vicky Vale in the first one.
Yeah.
When he's going to tell her. That's like, I think that embodies that though. And better because he is like kind of, he just can't get it out.
Yeah.
He just literally, he can't let the words pass his, because he's so, it's just such a big secret, you know what I mean, to tell. So, to me, like, Selina already knows and maybe he's trying to bring her back and just show, like, listen, this really is me under here. But
yeah, I guess that's the most interesting aspect of the character is the identity issues.
And I guess that's the thing they're showing with the Catwoman Selina Kyle thing as well. You know, she says, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
She basically blames Shrek she kind of like putting him as a wedge, almost an excuse to not be with Bruce as Selina. You know, to not give it up, which I think is an excuse because I don't know if she's ready to give it up.
Yeah.
Being Catwoman or whatever's happened to her psychologically.
Aye.
She's physically putting Shrek as the barrier of why they can't be together.
Yeah. I guess she maintains a independent identity by saying that there's no happy ending in the sense they can't go and live with a prince in his castle. She kills off Shrek and means the last shot in the end when she's got one life left or something.
Yeah. Again, like we discussed this at the time, is like, do we think she's supernatural at all?
Right.
I mean, it definitely would appear. It's definitely made out to be that way from the way she comes back to life, supposedly with the cats. But I put it to you that she might not technically have died. So like, it's hard. I don't know. I'm just like thinking like, she definitely implies that she's got. I mean, she gets shot like point blank, almost range a couple of times. So all in all, I feel a decent finale.
Yeah. I mean, and then one problem thing is your two villain thing again. Penguin's out the picture.
Yes.
At this point, and then all that action happens, and then suddenly he turns up. Bring the penguin back.
Zombie penguin jumps out the water. That was a nice wee touch with the penguins.
Right.
Taking them into the water.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And as you say, like, after that we see Alfred's there.
Right.
Waiting to pick up the pieces. Driving Bruce home. So snowy and that. And Bruce thinks he sees a Catwoman jumping up the wall. Bit that bugs me continuity wise is her suit's back to normal.
Oh yeah.
It was all tattered and everything. Her hair was at the side. And all of a sudden it's fine again. Right. And you see her head at the top of when the bat symbol comes at the end. Definitely not as good as Batman.
Yeah.
I don't know where that the blame lays for that. It may be the multiple villain thing. It might not. I know it's been known to fail quite a few times.
Yeah. Um, see, the main thing for me is the dialogue, I think, which is annoying because there's some kind of excellent exchanges. I feel like the first scene with Batman and the Penguin,
Yeah.
I think is really good. I know you were saying there was some tension between Michelle Pfeiffer and Keaton.
Yeah, I think they dated before the
Aye.
film and they broke up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, she wasn't first choice for that again.
right.
Either. I think it was Annette Bening.
Okay.
It was initial choice
Right.
for that, but I think she got pregnant.
Right. So some of the scenes let it down, in particular all the one-liners and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a shame. It could have been a lot better, I think, if they'd just tightened a few things up. Yeah, I feel like good effort.
Definitely. What like the batsuit and things like that. Like, I was watching some of the special features and like it looks more or less the same batsuit, but it's actually a lot cleaner looking. You know,
Okay.
it's more kind of sculpted.
Aye.
Rather than being like kind of muscular or
Right.
like skate. Like it was the original was like kind of almost like bat skin.
Right. Okay.
You know, like the cape and things like that. But you definitely see they've spent a bit more money in this one too.
Yeah.
But I don't think it works quite as well
Mm.
as 89 Batman. But I think that's like kind of how do you top the Joker and Jack Nicholson's Joker?
Yeah.
And even with two villains in it,
Mm.
you're not really going to do it, are you?
Aye.
So decent effort, just no quite as good as the first one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's maybe it's symptomatic of all superhero movies in the sense that you come out with one all guns blazing,
Mm-hmm.
your best villain origin stories, and then the next one you can't really top that. Can you?
Yeah. And again, maybe that's one thing to me that Nolan didn't do. He kind of came in with somebody.
That's true. Aye.
He had Scarecrow in there, sure, but not necessarily your first tier Batman
Yeah.
villain. And like Ra's al Ghul or
Mhm.
Ra's al Ghul, whatever we're gonna call him. Like again, not somebody that the mainstream really knows of.
That's true. Aye.
So really, Dark Knight had to top it. Kind of again having
Aye.
the Joker in it. I'm sure like all the rest of the superhero movies have all kind of done that.
Yeah.
Come out with their top guns.
Okay, so that's our first episode done for the Batman specials. Probably going to do another 3
Yep.
on the Schumacher's and Nolan's, 2 Nolans, and then we'll do one once Rises come out,
comes out. Mm-hmm.
our review of the film. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. Just stepping outside our normal
Yeah.
boundaries of things, but
Hopefully
just thought
we'll-
this would be fun
yeah.
to do.
I thought it'd be fun to do, yeah.
You did, aye.
That's right.
Okay, thanks for listening and join us on the next episode.